I spent 20 years on stimulant medication for ADHD, 2 decades of believing that my brain was broken and couldn't function without a magic pill. But facing a medication shortage recently, I realized something that changed everything. I didn't just have a problem with executive dysfunction, I had an identity problem. Look, I'm not anti-medication. When I was younger and my frontal lobes were still under construction, still way beyond my peers, I definitely benefited and needed that support from the medication to be able to handle school, life, chores. But at some point during those 20 years, my ADHD medication stopped being a tool and started being a mask. I used them every single day, even when I was sick, to try to be normal. I was so terrified of being different. I was completely relying on chemistry to do the work that my character was supposed to be doing. When my medication shortage forced me to stop, I realized that I hadn't really built enough coping tools in the last 20 years for me to be able to handle it. I was relying on the meds to carry me through life. But even worse was the realization that my meds were helping me to ruminate more, to take less action in my life. Oftentimes they weren't helping me work. They were keeping me stuck and hyper-focusing on my impostor syndrome and my desire to do things perfectly. Because I had all these beliefs and anxieties, they were keeping me stuck in my own head, trapped. I used to think that this ADHD paralysis was completely a wiring issue. But then I took a CBT program for my ADHD that completely changed my perspective. We did an exercise where we investigated exactly what was on our minds when we were procrastinating about something. Every single time without fail, I could trace my procrastination back to a specific cognitive distortion from the list they gave us. It shocked me because I wasn't lazy. I was catastrophizing. I was using all or nothing thinking. I realized that my wiring made me sensitive to the friction to start things, but it was my thoughts that were actually keeping me stuck. Once I learned to name the distortion and challenge it, the paralysis lost its power. Since I wasn't using my magic pill to regulate my brain anymore, I had to build my own infrastructure. It's not about being cured. It's about working with your brain, getting creative, learning about yourself. And it's also about designing your environment and systems. I did research on how to focus better and be more productive. I started using a bright seasonal affective disorder lamp at my desk. Not just for my mood, it helped keep me alert, stay focused, and tell my brain that it was time to work. I traded the boost the stimulants gave me at the beginning of the day for cold showers every morning. They give me an immediate dopamine reset that lasts for hours and without a crash. I felt even better doing this than I did on my meds. I changed my diet to low carb and low sugar during the day because I realized that the cost of brain fog from food was too expensive. I started practicing meditation to help my brain develop a stronger pause muscle. And I made sure to take regular walks and move my body on every break. I stopped trying to process like everyone else seemed to, and I started to work more with what my brain responded to. This is not an overnight fix. This is about a serious investment in learning how to thrive with your own wiring. The most shocking part was I thought that I'd have to start with tasks small, like only 30 minutes a day. But off the meds, I actually found my flow state. I used my ADHD impulsivity to bypass the fear and imposter syndrome. I would just start. There was no crash. I wasn't drained. I truly felt energized. My brain wasn't meant to succeed at doing things average. That it is a superpower to be able to go from nothing to doing everything. What I learned most was that you don't need to be fixed. You need to be more understood, specifically by yourself. For 20 years, I let a pill fly the plane because I was so terrified of being atypical. Now I'm the one in the driver's seat. It's louder, it's messier, it's harder to do certain things and takes a lot more work, but it's worth it. At least you're living true to yourself. If any of this resonates, then I need you to stop apologizing for how you're wired. Start getting curious and building the infrastructure that works best around your brain. For me, it was bright lights, cold water, doing runs, and it will look different for you. It's up to you, and it's the fun part of experimenting and learning and discovering how you work best. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. Go have some fun today. Get lost in exploring what you can do to be more yourself. I'll see you in the next one.